What's up, everybody? Shane here. Earlier, I uploaded a video on a budget nightmare deck, and it was a $30 deck, and a lot of people built the deck, and they really enjoyed it. I had an overwhelming amount of positive feedback, and what they would do is they would send me messages on Facebook, and they'd say, "Hey, I built the budget nightmare deck. I really like it. What are some cards I can include in that nightmare to make it tournament viable? So what are the big boy cards I can include?" And a lot of people would ask the same question. So what I decided to do, we had a Premier Store event at Legendary Wolf Games, and I decided, since so many people were asking the same question, why don't I just build Nightmare how I would play it in the tournament and then play it at this Premier Store event and see what happens. So Premier Store day came around, we had 20 people playing, which is pretty insane. That's on the same level as some PTCs right now. So we had some heavy hitters too, like Jacob Johnson playing Maxi, Miles Tyler playing Ken. It was a pretty good tournament. So what happened is I played the deck. I ended up getting Swiss champion, played through top 8, and then I won the whole thing. So yeah, it was pretty dope. This deck is tuned to my playstyle, I would say. I don't know if I would change anything in the deck. It functioned as expected. Every part of the deck has its purpose. And I'm going to show you guys the deck and the sideboard as well, just to show you what I played in the tournament and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a solid deck. I really like it, so let's get right into it. Alright, so the way I'm going to go about this video, I'm just going to assume that you've already watched the Budget Nightmare video. If you haven't, I would just put a link to it. And then you can learn all the tricks from there and all that. So yeah, Nightmare's character, the best thing about him is that when your opponent blocks your attack, you get to pick it back up. Then you just play it again. So he's like a 7-hander who has an attack he plays twice. So he's kind of good. So mainstay attacks, we have 4 copies of Life Force Thread and 4 copies of Vicious Madness. These are the 10 damage throws. So you toss one of these, it's a 10 damage throw. The opponent either takes 10, so you chunk them for 10, or they block it, they take half, then you respond Nightmare, bounce it back, and play it again. So yeah, those are really good. Those are in the Budget Nightmare deck as well. One addition, this is a rare attack from Street Fighter, 4 copies of Azuna Drop. This is a flash throw. So what happens is that Nightmare, this is going to come in with 2 damage because of Nightmare. But then if you're at Desperation, it gets 2 more damage. So it's like a 10 damage throw if you are at 14 life or less. But then if this attack deals less than its printed damage, your opponent discards their entire momentum, which is insane. This is a momentum dump. They either take 8 or they block, take 4, pitch their momentum, and then he bounces back to their hand. This is also a flash throw, so there is no enhanced step. So the opponent can't really do much to it. They can't enhance. Yeah, you won't be able to Nightmare either, but your main part of Nightmare is the response. It's not the enhance. So this card here, it's just I killed a lot of people with this. They would be at 3 life or 4 life or whatever. I'd toss this Azuna Drop. Here's an 8 damage throw, and it's well, I can't enhance to reduce the damage or do anything to it, so I guess I die. So yeah, this is really good. In the finals, game 3, my turn 1, I tossed this, just hard check the 5. He blocked it, bounced it back, played it again. So yeah, it was really good. And because it had flash, there was no enhances on either side, so it was just a lot of damage. So yeah. Another card I put in, 4 copies of Dark Reconquista, Purgatory. So this is an Inferno attack. It's his ultra rare. This mainly is for the stats. So it's Desperation 4. So when you're in Desperation, when you're at 14 life or less with Nightmare, because his health is 29, the difficulty becomes 4. So it's a 4 difficulty, 10 damage attack because you're Nightmare. And then if they block it, you just pick it up, play it again. Also has a good block mod. It's a +1 high. It's really good on an attack that's 10 damage. Another cool thing about this card, you can lose 3 life, and then you commit your opponent's character. And that's really important. Your opponent can burn 6 to cancel this ability. So it's usually, everyone I played, they always just committed their character. There was only one time in top 8 where my opponent, he was playing Taki, and he actually burned the 6 to cancel, and then he actually won the game because he burned the 6 to cancel. But usually people just commit their character. The reason that's good is because you burn 3 and your opponent has to commit a card in their staging area. So it's they commit their character, and then that's one less card they have to pass checks to block. Otherwise, this is just a fat attack, 10 damage. It's really good. And then we got From Hell. So Scorpion's attack, it's really good. If this attack is not blocked, you get to pop one of your opponent's foundations, and then they burn life equal to the control of the popped foundation. Also, it starts off at +2 damage because you're Nightmare. So it's if they block it, you just pick it up, play it again. If they don't block it, well, they're taking what, 8+5 control, so they're taking like 13 damage off this, so it's pretty good. This also has EX3, very important, so your Nightmare, right? And you're usually tossing these throws at your opponent, so you're going to have cards in your momentum. From Hell's EX3 is a momentum dump, so you can activate EX3 as an enhance. You can discard 1 momentum for +3 speed, or 2 momentum for +6 speed, 3 momentum for +9 speed. So yeah, this is like a momentum dump, so it gives this speed, so it's harder to block, so they can't block this, so they take the 8, and then you pop one of their foundations and burn them. So yeah, From Hell's really good. So yeah, that's 19 attacks. What's really nice about this deck is that there's 11 attacks that have the Desperation keyword. It's all Desperation 4. So like From Hell is Desperation 4, Dark Reconquista is Desperation 4, and then you got Vicious Madness, which is Desperation 4 as well. So it's like when you're at critical health, these attacks are just cheap to play and it's easier to kill your opponent. So yeah, that's all the attacks. I play 3 actions. I play 3 copies of Revoke. I don't play any I Grant You Death or Dark Tournament Looms. I just want to have a consistent card that can cancel enhance abilities and stuff like that. This card actually won me Game 3 in the finals because I was just camping on this card and waiting for the critical enhance to negate. Like I actually stopped plus damage enhance, so I lived barely, and then I was able to kill my opponent on the backswing. So yeah, Revoke's just like generally like it's like a staple-ish card. Like if you're on these symbols, you kind of want to play it because it's just a hand trap where you negate enhances. All right, moving on to the foundations. 4 copies of Hell's Reach, just an aggressive foundation. Commit it, pass a check. Flip, ready, commit it again to pass a check. Just help you stay on the offensive. In addition to Hell's Reach, we also have 4 copies of the Azure Nightmare. So another card, you commit, pass a check, you discard 1, you ready it, so then you can commit to pass a check again. So like these cards help you stay aggressive. They're basically foundations that count as 2 foundations because you get to use them twice. Yeah, those are just aggressive foundations. All right, I play 4 copies of True Identity. This, I feel like, is very important because you're stringing attacks nonstop and you want to pass all your checks on your attacks so you don't fail and give your opponent an opportunity to kill you on the backswing. So this card just helps ensure that you are like checking properly and like not committing too many things to pass checks for your attacks. So yeah, I want to see this turn 1 because I want to start attacking you turn 2 if I'm not attacking you turn 1. So because I want to see this card turn 1, I play 4 copies of it. I know it's a unique foundation. You can only have one of these out, but if you have more copies in your hand, save it as a block, pitch it for Azure Nightmare, or whatever. Like you want to see this turn 1. All right, 4 copies of Most Trusted Assassin. This card's really important on defense. You just like put this out, and it's really hard for the opponent to kill you because you burn life, and then the opponent's next check to play an attack card gets -1. It doesn't say failing that check does not end the combat phase, so it's like it really scares your opponent off of attacking. So yeah, 4 Most Trusted Assassin. 4 Profane Sanctuary. This was in the budget deck. It still maintains value in the big boy deck. Basically just cancels Breaker. Breaker's Nightmare's worst enemy. You know, you like play a 5 difficulty attack, and then like they block with Breaker, you bounce this to your hand, you play it again, it's like +2 difficulty if they block with Breaker too. So like you can just cancel Breaker and just resume on the offensive. So yeah, 4 Profane Sanctuary, still amazing. 4 copies of Cage Fighter. So this is a common from Street Fighter, but it's a $2 common. So like this didn't make it in the budget list, but this is really good because it hacks the opponent's checks when they play attacks. So yeah, this combined with like Most Trusted Assassin, this makes it so it's really hard for the opponent to play attacks so that they just kind of have to build foundations. Then on your turn, you can still play attacks, just constantly play them. So yeah, these cards just help end the opponent's turn so you can continue tossing 10 damage throws at your opponent, or just 10 damage attacks in general. So yeah, you can also hack your opponent's blocks with this. So if they block with like a non-foundation card, you can flip and hack their block. Sometimes it pushes it to where they can't block and your attack just goes through and kills them. 4 copies of Soul of the Sword. Again, this was in the budget deck. It still makes its way into the tournament deck. You mill 3 cards off the top of your deck, give your attack +1 damage. So usually you have 10 damage throws. If the opponent blocks them, they take 5. Well, this makes them 11 damage throws. They block it and they take 6 instead. So it just chips them further. Yeah, it's just really good in the deck. It just helps you stay on the offensive and just like deal more damage basically. 3 copies of Face of the Monster. This is really good speed hate. So like when your opponent plays an attack, you can burn for 1, reduce their speed by 2, so it's easier to block. When you're in Desperation, you can change the zone of an attack, so it's like changes the zone of your opponent's attack, so that you know, you can just block it and live. Sometimes you like, you know, if you know what blocks in your opponent's hand, you can change your attack zone to whatever zone that like they don't have, and then they have to partially block, which is really funny with Vicious Madness because like this attack cannot be partially blocked, so you can just change it to like a low if you know that they don't have any low blocks or like anything like that, and just make this unblockable for like 10 or 11 damage or whatever. You never really get to deadlock. Like your opponent never really gets to deadlock when against this deck because your offense is so good. The opponent just has to like, well, I either have to race car you or like I can try to build, but I'm just gonna die to throws anyways. So like the deadlock ability rarely ever happens. But yeah, this is just a defensive card for the deck. 3 copies of Outworld's Eris just solves problems on the board. If there's a foundation you don't want, you just remove this, bounce that foundation back to their hand. Now you don't have to deal with it. So yeah, really good card. I played 2 copies of Ninja Outcast. I really don't want my opponent reversaling me, like playing attacks on my turn. So like I want to play attacks and I don't want to be interrupted. So if you try to reversal me, just flip this, bounce that reversal back to your hand. I'm going to continue playing attacks. It's also a momentum dump, helps you counter cards with the weapon keyword. Really good. And I have 1 copy of Last of His Kind, just like, this is like a staple-ish 1x in decks like that, so there's nothing bad about this card. All 3 abilities on that card are really good. The most useful one is probably the lose 2 life to reduce their damage by 4, so it's like taking 2 less damage, so it just helps you live. Also, the Desperation Enhance happens a lot. You know, you get attacked a lot, you have 29 life, and when you're at 14 life or less, you just give all your attacks plus 2 damage, it just kills them faster. So yeah, that's the main deck. I play 60 cards flat. I kind of want to do the same game plan every single turn, just toss 10 damage throws at you and stuff. All right, let's get into the sideboard. I have 3 copies of Murderous Addiction. So this was mainly more target for assets. So like I figured, you know, with Soul Calibur coming out, there's like every character got an asset except for like Mitsurugi, he got an action. So like there's assets everywhere. So I know like Outworld's Eris can bounce assets as well. But I just wanted more cards to hate on assets if I ever needed to. So yeah, 3 Murderous Addiction. 3 copies of a new Master. This was primarily like decks that gain momentum. I can destroy this and stuff their momentum in their card pool, and then it makes it harder for them to play their turn. Like it breaks up combos because it stuffs the momentum face down. So like they can't combo off a face down card. So it breaks their combos, it just stunts their turn. It just like this is a defensive card that helps you live. So yeah, 3 copies of a new Master. I played an extra copy of Ninja Outcast just against like reversal decks or like the weapons and stuff like that. There was one deck that just like was reversal based, and I definitely sided this in because I didn't want to get reversaled. Yeah. And then I played 1 copy of Maze Castle. This is another card that hacks checks. I sided this in against Ken in the finals because it's like I want as many cards to disrupt his attacks as possible. So this was 1 card I sided in. I saw it turn 1, played it, hacked a check by 2. But also, this is a good card in your hand too because it's a +0 block with Breaker 2. So you can just use this defensively, Breaker 2, end their turn, and then just kill them on your next turn. So yeah, that's the deck. I'm going to go ahead and put up some matches from the tournament, and I'll commentate over them and kind of show you what's going on.
All right, so this is game 1 of top 8 in the December Premier Store event at Legendary Wolf Games. So this is just a standard game with Nightmare, just kind of showing you like on average how the deck works. So I get to go first because I'm top seed. I play 4 foundations, pretty standard, and then my opponent plays 4 foundations. This is a typical opening of a UFS game. So then on my next turn, I activate True Identity to make my attacks easier to play, and then I play Vicious Madness. So it's a 10 damage throw off the bat. I use Soul of the Sword, discard the top 3 cards of my deck to make it 11 damage, and then I use Profane Sanctuary to mill 2. But my opponent decides to block it, so he takes 6 and then mills 3. And then I respond Nightmare, bounce Vicious Madness back to my hand, and then I just play it again. And then this time it's same thing, 11 damage throw, and he just takes it. So he's already taken 17 damage on my turn 2. After that, I decide to build a Ninja Outcast and then a Face of a Monster. Ninja Outcast is really good against this deck because I now have a momentum and I can cancel any ability on a weapon card. So now he opens with an Astral Vision, and Astral Vision is really good in Taki because Taki gives it 3 speed, and then its ability is, if its speed is 6 or greater, it gets like +4 damage. But I respond Face of Monster, burn 1 life, so it gets -2 speed, so he can't make it 6 speed. And then I just take the damage. So then, knowing he can't kill me, he just builds foundations and then passes. So then on my turn, activate True Identity again, play a Life Force Thread. This thing is 10 damage throw. I activate Soul of the Sword and make it 11 damage. He tries to do an enhance. I play Revoke and stop it. And at this point, he's like, yeah, I think I'm Big Dunzo. So he does some calculating. Kind of knows that he really doesn't have an out here, playing with his discard pile and stuff. So he blocks with Azure Nightmare, mills 3, takes 6. I respond Nightmare, bounce it back. So here we're just talking about like the order of how he uses his asset, because his asset says like once one or more cards leave either card pool and the card has left my card pool, so he gets to draw a card and stuff. So then, yeah, after that I play Life Force Thread and he scoops it up. All right, so this is top 4 against Jacob Johnson playing Maxi. So how this came to be, I went first, game 1, but he beat me game 1. Then game 2, I won, and now this is game 3, what you're watching. So he gets to go first. He builds 4 foundations, and then on my turn, I build 4 foundations. Again, very typical. So then on his turn 2, he builds 2 foundations and then plays a Snakewing Sobot. So then he goes to use the Snakewing Sobot Enhance, which adds a foundation from his card pool into his momentum, but then he's like, hold on a second. He reads a new master, and this is a card I sided in against Maxi because it's really good against characters that generate momentum. What a new master does, as you saw earlier, I destroy it and take a card from his momentum and put it in his card pool. So it breaks up combos, it clogs their card pool with the progressive, so it's harder for them to play stuff. So he decides not to use it. Instead, he uses Burning with Revenge, brings it down, gives it damage, and then he uses a Let's Cut Loose, brings down the Alpha Male. And then, I decided to block it with a Dark Reconquista. So then he plays Scarlet Meteor, and now he's doing Scarlet Meteor Maxi things. So he blows up a foundation. He decides to bring in a Kirin Soul. Now, Kirin Soul is a defensive card. It's really good against throws because you flip it, and if you block the attack, it deals no damage. So this is like a telegraph that he can't kill me this turn. So I kind of like don't need to play as defensive now. Like I can afford to take this damage. Like it's a lot of damage. I can afford to take it though. So now he's just doing Let's Cut Loose, Alpha Male, doing Maxi things. I'm thinking if I should block this, and then I'm doing calculations and stuff, but I'm just gonna take it. So I end up taking a lot of damage there. So then he builds 2 foundations without blocks, and then he keeps 2 cards in his hand. So he just has 2 cards to block with. So that's like, well, Maxi only has 20 life, and that's one thing about Nightmare. He like murders 7 hand size. Like 1 attack is half your health. So on my turn, I use True Identity, play a Vicious Madness, pass the check. So this is a 10 damage throw. He reads a new master again. He's like, I mean, I can use it. I can like pop it to clog his card pool, but it's not worth it. I'd rather have the foundation to pass checks. So yeah, I just kind of threaten this 10 damage throw, and he decides to take it. Now, that was a little surprising to me at first, but then looking back, actually taking it's not that bad of an idea, because if he blocks it, I just pick it up, and then I play it again. So by not blocking it, it's stuck in my card pool, so my attacks are kind of harder to play. So yeah, but still, he only has 20 life, and just 2 attacks need to hit. So I play a Purgatory, and then he decides to block it with a Snakewing Sobot. It's a full block, so I respond Nightmare, I pick it up, and I play it again. So again, it's a 10 damage attack. I look at Marrying Age because I'm going to use Hell's Reach and ready it. So what's going to happen is I use Hell's Reach, he's going to respond Marrying Age and ready his Wandering Pirate. So I'm looking, just making sure that I'm not going to get countered by any special tricks or whatever. So yeah, I enhance with Nightmare, and then I just send it at him. So then he's going to block with a Breaker block, with a Breaker 2. He blocks with a Nutcracker and Breaker 2s me. So I can't pick it up with Nightmare because I already picked it up with Nightmare. So now I have to play a Foundation. So, you know, I'm sitting here thinking I end up playing a Hell's Reach on a 4, and I pass the check. So then I play another, I play a From Hell this time on a 4, 5, 6, 7. No, I play it on a 9, but I check a 5, get +1 from True Identity, and then I commit my last 3 cards, and then Jacob Johnson doesn't have a hand, and then that's game. Now I'm in the grand finals, and I'm playing against Miles Tyler playing Ken. So same story as top 4. I went first game 1, but I lost game 1. Then I won game 2, and then now we're sitting at game 3. So Ken gets to go first, which is really scary, and he builds 4 foundations. So on my turn, I know I need to match the aggression of this Ken deck, so I just play in a Zuna drop, I pass the check, it's 8 damage, he blocks it, takes 4, I respond Nightmare, pick it up, play it again, and then it's 8 damage, so he takes 12 on my turn 1. Then I play 3 foundations, and then I'm debating whether to play another foundation, but the issue is that it has a high block, so I decide to keep it in my hand because I need to respect the aggression that Ken has. I also have a Revoke in my hand, so I'm camping on that as well. And that's going to be crucial to stopping an enhance that's going to kill me on this kill turn. So on his turn, he plays a Fatality, gives it stun to a Shaolin Fighter, stuns my Azure Nightmare. I burn him for 2, so he's at 7 health now. So now he's going to do Ken things, and while he's doing Ken things, I'm going to explain why I chose to attack him on my turn 1. So Ken going first is really scary because the aggression that this deck has is like insane. Like the damage output is like really strong. So knowing this, you have two options. You can either match his aggression or you can prioritize defense. The issue is that my deck doesn't have a lot of defense, so my only option is to match his aggression. So that's why I chose to attack Ken on my turn 1. So now he plays a Kurobushi kick, it's 10 damage, and I choose to block the Kurobushi kick because I know that if I don't block this attack, I'm probably not blocking for the rest of the turn. So I block with my Azure Nightmare, I have to tap out to pass the check, so I don't take 10 damage, and then now I'm just not blocking. So he plays Violent Shoryuken, does Violent Shoryuken things, removes his momentum, picks up a Shirai Ryukan, and I just eat the damage. So now he plays the Shirai Ryukan, and I thought about revoking the combo enhance of him putting a 5-check from his discard pile on top of his deck to pass his next attack. But the issue is that if I play my revoke too soon, and I expose my hand and I don't have anything else, then that makes the math easier for him to calculate and kill me. So he doesn't know I have a revoke in my hand, so I'm going to keep it and I'm going to take the damage. So then he plays the Firefly Gunner, so I pick it up, I read it, and then he removes 2 for Ken, and he gives it +3 damage. And now I'm going to play the revoke because that +3 damage is going to put that attack in range to kill me. So then he uses Firefly Gunner's Enhance, he fails the check, gives it 2 damage. This thing is going to hit me for 6, and I'm at 7 health. So I just take it, I go to 1, he plays a Napalm Stream, fails the check, and now it's my turn to try to kill him. So I draw my hand, I don't have any throws, which kind of sucks, but I have 2 Dark Reconquistas. So I activate Tridentity, I play Dark Reconquista, it's 10 damage, he uses Shaolin Fighter, puts it to 6, and he's at 7. So I'm kind of threatening this attack here. He's kind of calculating what to do. He has a couple tricks that he can do on my turn. So I enhance Nightmare and all that good stuff. So yeah, you're going to see up here, he's going to decide to block with a Yin and Yang. I think he gave it minus speed, but yeah, he's blocks with the Yin and Yang. I choose to Cage Fighter this because it's going to make him commit 2 foundations. He actually checked a Shirai Ryukan on this, which is really important. He mills 3 for Nightmare, he burns 1, so that puts him at 6. That's really important. So he removes Yin and Yang, picks up Shirai Ryukan, and then he checks a 3. So he has to commit Ken to pass this check, which he does. So now, since he played a combo attack on my turn, he's going to respond Yin and Yang, put the top 2 cards in my deck into my card pool. Now, that's bad for me, because now I have these 2 cards in my card pool. He has this reversal for 3 damage, and I'm at 1. So, like, I need to block this attack in order to live. And I have 2 cards in my card pool. So I block with the Dark Reconquista. I commit 2 cards to pass the check. So now I just have Nightmare up. So I do some calculations. I have the other Dark Reconquista. I play it on a 7. I get +1 to my check with True Identity. I commit Nightmare, and I just throw my hand out there. Like, this is what I got, dude. And, you know, he knows he's beat. And then there's the handshake.
All right, everybody, that is the Tournament Nightmare deck that I have built for the competitive playlist. Like I said, a lot of people liked the budget Nightmare deck, and they just wanted to see how it would be like in a tournament. So built it, played it, ended up getting first place at the 20-person Premier Store event. I had a lot of fun with the deck. Sometimes, depending on the matchup, you just have to toss an attack turn 1. You know, it just depends. So I had a lot of fun doing that because it's like a rush. You know, like, I need to check this attack, I need to check this attack, and then I check a 5. It's like, yes, yes, yes. You know, so I had a blast playing the deck. So this is how I would play the deck at a tournament right now. Like I said, this is the deck that works for me. You know, you can make modifications, whatever you want, but I had a lot of fun with this deck, and I'm going to keep it together for a while. All right, everybody, that's the deck. This video is sponsored by LegendaryWolfGames.com. Get all of your UFS cards and other TCG singles at LegendaryWolfGames.com. .com.